It's 12:14 in the morning. You're listening to After Midnight with Daktari Knight. Outside the studio tonight, the city is shining like wet coal. Cabs hissing through puddles, neon trembling in the glass, and somewhere out there, under a tired fluorescent light, somebody is pouring coffee for strangers who have run out of lies. If you're awake tonight, the lines are open. 555 KNIGHT. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Daktari. You can call me Grace.
Grace. That sounds like the kind of name a person earns. Where are you calling from tonight?
I'm calling from Manhattan, West 46th. There's a little diner I've worked at for near enough 20 years. Hudson Moon Diner, 148 West 46th Street. Just a few blocks from the NBC Studios. Close enough to the bright lights that tourists walk by, thinking the city's magic, and far enough away that the real city still wanders in after midnight. I just finished my last shift. Turned in my apron an hour ago. By this time tomorrow, I'll be on a bus, headed for Texas to live with my sister in a trailer outside Abilene. Simple life. Quieter life. At least that's what I keep telling myself.
And yet you called me instead of sleeping. That usually means the night isn't finished with you.
No, it isn't. Daktari, I've been a waitress on nights for 20 years. Just me, 2 other girls on rotation, and a cook named Louise, who's got hands like cast iron and says less than a priest in a snowstorm. Night shift ain't food service. Not really. It's half coffee, half confession. Some people come in hungry. Some come in lonely. Some come in because if they go home too soon, they'll have to admit something to themselves. And after all these years, people told me things. Terrible things. Sad things. Things they maybe should have told a lawyer or a priest or nobody at all. But they told me. And I listened. And tonight I keep wondering, did I do wrong letting them? Should I have kept a wall up? Because now I'm leaving, and I feel like I'm carrying half this city in my chest.
You changed their names?
I did. And details, too. Enough that nobody listening should know them. But the sorrow of it, that part stays the same.
Then talk, Grace. The hour is built for it.
There was a man I'll call Tom. Always came in 5 nights a week. Strong black coffee, pancakes with berries, maple syrup on the side, same stool at the counter. Never smiled with his whole face. Married man, worked nights, loading trucks. One night he told me his wife was sleeping with his brother. Said he'd known for months. Said every time he walked through his own front door, he felt like he was entering a play where everybody had his lines but him. He loved her, Daktari. That was the worst of it. He still loved her. But love had gone sour in him. He wanted revenge, not blood, not fists, but humiliation. He said he wanted to take every one of her fancy dresses and shoes, pack them into black garbage bags, and leave them on the curb before dawn with a big cardboard sign that read, "For free, formerly owned by a woman with no loyalty." He wanted to mail copies of motel receipts to her bridge club. Wanted to send flowers to her office with no card, just so everybody would whisper. She worked at a community shelter in the Bronx. Respected woman. Good public face. Rotten private life, at least according to him. I told him not to do any of it. Told him revenge doesn't cool a person off. It just keeps them standing in the fire longer. But he looked at me and said, "Grace, if I walk away quiet, it'll be like none of it mattered." And I didn't know what to say to that.
A man who's been betrayed usually believes noise will heal him. It won't. What happened to Tom?
Last thing I heard, he rented a room for a month, moved his paycheck to a different bank, and left her a note that said, "You can explain your life without me in it." Cold as winter, that note. Maybe kinder than what he wanted to do. Maybe crueler in the long run. I still think about him. I still wonder if I should have told him more.
Sometimes the best advice sounds too small for the size of the wound. That doesn't mean it was wrong. Who else, Grace?
A cop. I'll call him Charlie. Sharp haircut. Clean hands. Never took off his hat till the coffee hit the table. He was one of the good ones, Daktari. Real manners. Said, "Please, thank you, ma'am." He'd come in after shift and sit in the last booth, like a man trying not to be seen by people who looked straight at him every day. One night he told me he was in love. I smiled and said, "Good for you." Then he looked down at the sugar dispenser and said, "It's my partner. Not patrol partner in the diner sense, precinct partner." They were in love with each other, but quiet about it. Terrified, really. This is the 70s, Daktari. Men lose jobs over whispers, lives over rumors. He told me if the department found out, if the wrong captain found out, if the wrong guy in the locker room found out, it could end everything. And the saddest part? He loves the job, loved being police. Said he was about to make detective. Could almost feel the shield in his pocket already. But he said he was thinking of quitting before he got exposed. I told him maybe he should ask for a transfer. Different precinct, different rhythm. Buy himself a little breathing room. But he said, "Grace, I'm tired of living like I'm borrowing my own life." That line nearly broke me. I didn't know what to tell him. What should I have told him, Daktari?
You should have told him the truth as gently as truth can be told. That there are times in history when a person has to decide whether survival is the same thing as living. And that sometimes courage is not a speech, not a parade, not a grand stand in the sunlight. Sometimes courage is simply staying alive long enough to reach a kinder decade. He may not have wanted that answer, but it might have been the only honest one.
That's what I was afraid of. That maybe there wasn't a good answer. Just a survivable one.
And survivable matters. Who else sat at your counter?
A woman named, let's call her Eileen. Wedding ring. Nurse's shoes. Lipstick always half gone by 3 a.m. She worked at St. Clair's and came in after double shifts. One night she told me she was so tired, she'd started hoping for red lights on the drive home, just so she could close her eyes for 10 more seconds. Then she said something worse. She said sometimes she parked around the block from her apartment and just cried, because once she went upstairs, she'd have to become everybody's strong woman again. Sick mother, unemployed husband, 2 kids, bills stacked like hymn books. And she said, "Grace, if I disappeared for 1 weekend, I think they'd only miss what I do, not who I am." Can you imagine hearing that over pie and burnt coffee? I slid her an extra slice of apple on the house. Like apple pie could answer a sentence like that.
Sometimes pie is not a solution, but it is proof that one human being noticed another. That counts for more than most people think.
Then there was Miriam. School teacher. Always wore gloves, even when it wasn't cold. Neat, proper, soft voice. She'd come in after taking the late train back into the city from visiting her mother in a care home. One night she told me she was engaged. Should have been happy news. But she said she didn't love the man. Not really. Said he was safe, polite, steady. The kind of man her church ladies would call a blessing. But the man she actually loved had married somebody else 3 years earlier, and she'd never gotten over it. She asked me, "Grace, is it sinful to marry for peace instead of love?" Imagine asking a diner waitress something like that at 2:20 in the morning. I told her peace matters. Then I hated myself for saying it, because I could hear how lonely it sounded.
And yet there are people listening tonight who know exactly what that question costs. Yeah.
There's one more. A regular I'll call Lola. Not her real name. She came in around 4, usually after the club's emptied. Tall. Elegant. Gloves in winter, silk scarf in spring, perfume that arrived before she did. Some nights folks stared at her. Some nights they snickered. But not in my diner. Not if I saw it. Lola lived her life, presenting as a woman, and she carried herself with more dignity than most men in suits ever manage. One night she told me she'd been saving money for years, singing in little downtown rooms, doing makeup for chorus girls, taking whatever honest work she could get. She wanted to leave New York and start over somewhere she could be known by the name she chose, not the one forced on her. But she was terrified. Not of leaving, of being forgotten. She said, "Grace, if I become myself in a place where nobody knew the old me, did I exist before then?" I still hear that in my sleep. I told her this. "You existed every night. You walked through my door and held your head high." She cried. I pretended not to see. That's the rule in diners. You let people keep a little of their pride.
That may have been the finest thing anyone said to her that year.
Maybe. Or maybe I just got too involved in people who were never mine to hold. That's what eats at me tonight. They trusted me. Tom, Charlie, Eileen, Miriam, Lola, and dozens more. Men cheating, women trapped, kids running, priests doubting, comics bombing, secret drinkers, lonely salesmen, women pretending bruises came from cabinet doors. I poured coffee, topped up cups, and people handed me pieces of their souls, like they were nickels for the jukebox. And I listened. That diner became my whole life. No husband, no kids, no real family except my sister down in Texas with her neat little trailer and her geraniums in cans. And now I'm leaving, and it feels like I'm abandoning a church nobody knew they were attending. Did I do wrong, Daktari? Should I have kept a distance? Should I have smiled, served the eggs, and stayed out of it?
No, Grace. You were not a thief. You did not pry open locked doors. They handed you what they handed you because for a few minutes under those lights they felt safe. That is not wrongdoing. That is stewardship. Could you solve their lives? No. Could you save them all? No. But you gave them something rare in this city, a witness, not a judge, not a gossip, not a savior. A witness, and a witness can keep a person from vanishing.
That's kinder than I've been to myself.
Night workers often carry emotional freight they were never trained to lift. Bartenders, cab drivers, nurses, switchboard operators, mortuary staff, diner waitresses under fluorescent halos. You become the keeper of what the daylight crowd doesn't want to hear. That doesn't mean you failed. It means the lonely found your counter.
I keep thinking maybe I should have told Charlie to run, or Tom to stay, or Eileen to leave her husband, or Miriam not to marry for peace, or Lola to get out of the city tomorrow and never look back. Maybe I should have been stronger.
No, you should have been exactly what you were. A woman with coffee, patience, and enough silence for another human being to hear themselves think. That is not a small thing. That is ministry without a pulpit.
You know, nobody's ever said that to me before.
Then they should have. What happens now?
Now I go to Texas. I help my sister fix up her place a little. Maybe wait tables at some roadside cafe where the loudest thing at night is crickets. Maybe I learn how to sit on a porch without feeling guilty. Maybe I find out who I am when nobody's telling me secrets at 4 a.m. But I needed to say this out loud before I went. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't rotten for listening.
You weren't rotten, Grace. You were human. And maybe that diner will miss you more than you know.
Maybe. Or maybe tomorrow night someone else pours the coffee and the city keeps right on talking.
The city always talks, but it does not always get heard. Thank you for the years you gave it.
Thank you, Daktari. And good night.
Good night, Grace. And safe road to Texas. There are jobs in this world with uniforms, badges, titles, ceremonies, retirement dinners, and then there are the jobs that never get named for what they really are. The waitress on nights, the one who remembers your order, the one who says you okay and means it, the one who wipes the counter while you decide whether to tell the truth. Some people serve coffee. Some people serve as the last soft place a stranger lands before dawn. Tonight's caller was one of those people, and if you're out there now, sitting in some all-night booth under tired lights, telling a little more of the truth than you meant to, be kind to the one listening. They may be carrying more ghosts than the rest of us. You're listening to After Midnight with Daktari Knight. The lines stay open, 555, KNIGHT. Before we fade into the next hour of the night, I want to say something simple, and I want to say it properly. To every caller, every listener, every quiet soul sitting in the dark with the radio turned low so the world doesn't hear what they're feeling. Thank you. You've made After Midnight the #1 late-night radio show across the USA once again. Not because of me, because of you. Because you trust this hour. Because you pick up the phone when it would be easier not to. Because you sit with strangers and let them be heard. That's what makes this show what it is. And that's something no chart can truly measure. And tonight's hour is brought to you by Bradley W. Deacon, author of over 20 books, from cybercrime thrillers to real-life, no-nonsense guides, to stories that sit with you long after the final page, all available exclusively on Amazon. And if you're a member of Kindle Unlimited, they're all waiting for you. Free. Just like the best conversations, the ones you didn't know you needed. You're listening to After Midnight with Daktari Knight. Stay with me. The night's not done yet.